podcast is brought to you by the Patterns of Possibility, where we help people make more meaningful relationships in both their personal and professional life. Hi, I'm Coach Lee Hopkins. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I want to welcome you to the Engaged Employee Podcast. Our mission is to emphasize the relationship between the employee and the workplace with the goal of enhancing engagement levels to create a more productive and satisfying work environment. While many organizations strive to create a more engaging atmosphere, they often miss the mark by forcing connection with big team building events like axe throwing or escape rooms. Those activities only leave employees with a short-lived sense of belonging. Organizations may also try smaller and more suffocating events like happy hours or group birthday celebrations that their employees feel obligated to attend. As a social connections and business culture coach, I've found that to create a stable, engaged, and productive workforce, there needs to be a shift in focus from mandatory fun and manufactured connection towards building trust and authentic conversation. Join me and a guest as we dive into social wellness strategies for the individual employee, techniques for developing interpersonal relationships with coworkers, and even some approaches for leaders to enrich the overall organizational culture. The Engaged Employee Podcast starts now. Hi, my name is Coach Lee Hopkins, and my guest today is Laura Ballet. Laura is a sought-after coaching expert in the field of Neuro-Energy, which is a self-aware environment that allows us to move into power seat of choice. As a global ambassador for the transformational empowerment and human awareness, she co-creates with individuals who are willing to grow past their mindset, negative patterns, and outdated habits to create and sustain happiness and well-being. Our conversation will be focused on individual self-care strategies for employees. Laura, welcome to the Engaged Employee Podcast.
Hi, Coach Lee. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad to have you here. I kind of uh, messed up your introduction a little bit there. I kind of tripped on a few words. So I know I didn't leave anything out, but
No.
I'm really, really excited to have you here because of the science of empowerment is the big
Mm.
thing that you really focus on. And when we met, you talked quite a bit about that, about how that helps individuals overcome those mindset pieces. So, can you tell us a little bit about what you do and about how you got into this field?
Yeah, thank you. I think right now, so many of us are looking for ways to empower not only ourselves, but the collective environment. And I know I personally am going through this. Everyone I speak to around the globe, whether it's a one-on-one or an interview, or it's a collective group of us, we're always trying to find ways to show up, right, with more vulnerability, more courage, and really creating these kind of sacred circles of communication. And the science of empowerment was just born out of the sheer love of wanting to live a life that is very empowered, resilient, and feeling that I can neutralize a lot of the negativity. And when you neutralize negativity, that movement into a more positive mindset is less challenging. So, really interesting is I was sharing with you before, I just came out of an 8-week beta testing environment that was unbelievable. And a shout out to my friend Laura Katanen of Ziello Studios. I'm a coach for her alongside of everything I do on the science of empowerment. And this is one of the ways as a coach I personally have empowered my life and the lives of others. I'm always active and collaborating with other mentors and other coaches and other leadership. And I think it's really imperative that organizations learn how to not only ask of their employees something, but they're willing themselves to show up and be a part of the community.
Absolutely. We're all individuals. We're all individuals and we come together. So we need to take care of ourselves as individuals, need to show each other respect and understanding as individuals. And also, I think it's a very empowering move to be able to, connect with just a single person. That's how
Mm,
you inspire groups of people, just one single person. So empowering, the empowering piece that I believe is to be vulnerable, being able to open up, being able to share with others. So you shared a little bit about how you got into this. I'm curious about your course. Can you give us a little overview of what it was?
Yeah, so two different things, the science of empowerment and the formula that is structured within the book that I wrote and how I coach my clients is very separate from this beta testing group that I just did. However, it's all from the same desire to really, again, create psychological safety with our clients, even for and within ourselves. And then as we move through these human to human connections, as you said, trust and vulnerability, these are aspects that I'm learning in organizational work are so important. Bringing data and research and materials into an environment is, I think, at its foundation, empowering. But showing one another that we have the ability to step back and listen without assumption, listen without judgment, and really supporting each other and showing up to be that courageous leader. So this 8-week beta program based from ZLO Studio is absolutely phenomenal. It's something that I really enjoyed being a part of, and it helped to show me how important our individual self-care is. So when we are engaged in a community, in a work environment, we're coming in with some of our highest and best intentions.
Absolutely. I do believe that we really need to focus on uh how we want things to materialize or manifest, and with your intention. If you're just going out there, out there anywhere, but you're not focused on what you want to create, you may impact people in ways that you didn't desire, and you didn't notice that you were doing that at all because you didn't know what you were looking for or trying to do in the first place, not being intentional about that. So I want to shift a little bit into the workspace and talk about those things about, being in the workspace. We want to focus on the individual care. So what are some of the things that you could recommend for someone who needs to connect better with their employees or coworkers rather, or themselves? Because I think empowerment really starts within. So if
Mhm.
you could recommend something amazing for my listeners who may want to empower themselves at work.
Yeah. Again, I think work is such a unique environment. We're so used to dynamics within our partnerships or family, whatever those may look like nowadays. But when we show up at work, it's, as you said in the video, sometimes it's this forced structure of thinking, of behaving, and of doing. And I really think it would benefit leadership to allow everyone to have the space to express their asks, their vulnerabilities. So I helped a client who's a scientist. She was going through my personal science of empowerment coaching, and she was finding a lot of struggle and a lot of challenges in her work environment. There's about 6 people. And what we started to work through was looking for ways to have an open dialogue, setting time aside within the workday and really beginning to start to feel comfortable in small asks. So that may be one employee is saying to another, I don't necessarily feel heard, and it's not a judgment, but it's an ask. May I have 5 minutes to just express the way I'm thinking about something? And would you be able to hold that receptive space for me? And that other person knowing that that is the cue, right, for our connection to deepen, so that even if I already have maybe some preconceived judgments, that I am willing at that moment to put all of that aside, to lend a deep and compassionate listening ear to what one of my fellow workers is bringing to me. So I really think individually, if we can not be less in fear of being vulnerable and trust that deep down we all have this desire to listen, to be heard, and to exchange, being receptive and being compassionate in the work environment, and understanding that it takes time and there's shifts that have to take place. But I think starting to ask for what we need and recognizing that when someone does come to us and they are asking for something, that we are willing to give them, again, a very compassionate space and a safe space, and to do our best to hear what they're asking for. And then we can start to collaborate and work differently together.
That's an excellent point. I really like the idea of having a cue for this kind of conversation that we're
Mm.
going to have because it's really easy for us to stay in our feelings. If we're frustrated about something at work, we're not feeling heard, it's, oh no, I'm going to be mad until I get heard. I don't know how to get anyone else's attention. I don't know what to do about this. And they're going to be defensive because I'm frustrated at them. I think it's a really, really important thing. Kind of like when you're trying to get people's attention and they're maybe talking and they're talking to each other. I do something called speed friending where people are all talking to each other, just like speed dating essentially, but we're looking for friends and only friends. And after 5 minutes, I have to grab everybody's attention and get their focus back onto me so that I can deliver information to them. And I know teachers, I got this from teachers because they say, if you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. So essentially, it's just like that with a cue, the communication cue. And I think that's something that is really missing in workspaces in general. What is the universal language? How do we get that cue? How do we get that? So I wonder if you could share with us. I know you said one cue, but I want to bring everybody's focus already who've been listening to it, who may have missed it, right back to it because I want to ask you for something actionable that an individual can do. And I think maybe some of those cues would be fantastic to share.
Yeah. And again, I think this all comes back to showing up, right? Being that courageous leader within, and understanding that we are all going through so many challenges and changes on a daily basis. And when we are in this work environment, whether it's virtual or in person, there's all this energy, right? This mixed energy, these different personalities, and we're all have, again, these preconceived judgments or these assumptions, or we simply just look at someone and we already think we know why they're behaving the way they are or interacting the way they are. I think the other thing to do is to work on suspending whatever the judgment is. So when you are asked at work, or if you're the one asking, just suspend that there's something wrong to begin with. And maybe it's just this beginning of a conversation and someone is trying to stretch past their comfort zone and they're really working on gaining a deeper connection at work, or really working on a collaborative project together, but there's some emotionality that's stuck in the way. So I really think just to believe in yourself and to have this connection to, it's okay to ask your fellow workmen what we're going through, and can we open up the channels of communication so that we can deepen the connection and actually create more productivity, not only for the team but certainly for the leadership and for the whole of the organization. And I really think one of the things I love coaching on is suspending doubt, or suspending the issue or the judgment or the belief or the story. Just kind of push it to the side and show up with that intention of wanting to create something where both of us will find great value. And then together we can even expand that out to the team as a whole.
Wow, I love that mindset of being able to come to the table without judgment.
Hmm.
to really be able to connect with someone and put your preconceived notions to the side, to be curious to explore what this conversation or what this connection could be. I really think that's beautiful. So
Thanks.
Laura, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your insight with us. Could you tell us what's new with you and where we can find you?
Yeah, thank you. So, of course, the website, www.thescienceofempowerment.com, the book, The Science of Empowerment, we're now out on Amazon. So, we're moving up the charts on that. This is a very transformational piece of material. It's not an easy breezy Sunday read. It really begins to transform the way that you think about thought and how we can use thought to show up in service for the greater good, but how it's an individual journey at first. And of course, through my website, there's an area to email if anyone wants to do one-on-one coaching and group coaching. And certainly, I love collaborating. So I love working with other coaches and coming in when they're already doing an event. And I just add in my expertise or my style of energy. So I really love up-leveling what someone else is doing. I think it's just a beautiful experience. So you can reach me through the website, you can reach me through the book, and I talk to people all around the globe. I just think it's a really beautiful privilege to try to help other people transform their mindset.
Wonderful. Laura, I want to thank you once again for joining us. And that is all for us. I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And there you have it, another insightful episode of the Engaged Employee Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the deep dive into the world of employee engagement, leadership, and workplace dynamics. The Engaged Employee Podcast is brought to you by the Patterns of Possibility, where we help people make more meaningful relationships in both their personal and professional life. Before we wrap up, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our incredible guests and, of course, our loyal listeners. Your support keeps us motivated to bring you valuable content each week. If you found today's discussion thought-provoking and want to learn more about how we can help you or your organization make more meaningful relationships, go to patternsofpossibility.com and book a friendly conversation with me. Or you can email me your questions at patternsofpossibility@gmail.com. Stay connected with us and engage with fellow listeners by following the Patterns of Possibility on LinkedIn. You can also catch us on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell to stay in the loop. And if you prefer the audio version, make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Your support means the world to us, and by subscribing, you'll never miss an episode. Thank you for being a part of our journey to create workplaces where passion meets productivity. Until next time, I'm Coach Lee. Stay engaged, stay inspired.